Hello, I'm GT Joey, and welcome to another episode of Automobiles of Distinction. Today we have something very special, a 2005 Ford GT Striped Elite. Look close, no stripes. Back in the day when these were made, these were actually hard sales back in the day at Ford. They actually send out a letter to all the dealerships, get rid of these cars. They thought it would be special, and nowadays they command at least 15 to 20% more than a car with all four options. This has got three options on this Ford GT. We got the BBS wheels, we got the painted calipers, and we have the stereo system. But again, back in 05, 06, when these came out with non-stripes, people thought it would be rare, but people didn't want it. Everybody wanted all four options. So they called it a hard sale, and on the dealer floor plan, they were discounting these cars back in the day $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. And now it commands at least 15 to 20% more. Beautiful, beautiful black car. Let's go through it and see what we could find. This is definitely 2005. The VIN is 1031. This is really the second series of 2005 that I explain in my book, Ford GT, The Complete Owner's Guide. You had the original first 500, then you had 500 to 1,000, and this is the end of that 1,000. The differences as the car came along, they were perfecting the systems, so much better streaming down the line. The door shuts and gaps were very, very clean by VIN 1000, this is over 1,000. We could see we have aftermarket inserts on the air vents, which were very common back then. That wasn't from the dealer. You had to go on the outside market. But it was a cool touch. It made it look like, you know, the 1960s GT40s. But again, when you close the doors and you get the VIN 1000 or so and beyond, the quality is just through the roof. VIN 1000 all the way to the end of 2005, early 2006, all these cars were built with the original build team and prototype team. After that, middle of 2006 into the end of 2006, a lot of guys retired out. Distinct features only on the 2005, all the way up to VIN 2000 or so, okay? Remember, they built 2022. But in 05, you got the grille, okay? The grille was deleted at the end of 2005, 2006 completely. Originally, they said it was for airflow, but it really wasn't. Now, all these years later, we could tell you the real story. They wanted to save on the budget, okay? These grills were costing them $76 a grill at the time, okay? Wasn't a big deal, but they weren't expecting to be making 4,000 cars. They were only gonna make originally 500, then 1,000, then 1,500. Finally, they ended up with 2,022 per year. So when you see an 05 car, and the VIN is under 1,700, I think our true number is 1,675 on 2005, you should have a grill. They never made grills for replacement in an accident, and the nose had a 3-bar on the replacement. So there's 5 bars behind this with the grill, okay? But if you see an 05 with that VIN number or earlier, and you do not see that grill, and you see 3 bars, you know the whole nose cone was replaced on the car. Very rare, only a handful of cars with no stripes. Once again, Bill Ford was very proud of their 100th anniversary, so they wanted to put the 100th theme into the car. This was the halo car, bringing back to his youth, mine as well as a kid in the 60s, the GT40 as the supercar modern. And if you look at the lights, which this is the first car with LEDs, 100 for the 100th anniversary. Cool, that was really cool. So once again, the air comes up, goes over the top. You have non-symmetrical mirrors on both sides. And on this car with the black, you could just see the whole line just flows, okay? If we open up the doors once again, let's get into the compartment if you want to come around the other side. All the leather was the same. There were no optional colors on any of the years, any of the colors. Everybody had black. This is aftermarket insert rings for the air vents. Neat trick. A lot of people used them back in the day. It was very popular. You have to keep them in once they're in because they're pressed in. We have the big Macintosh stereo, which gives you the big boom speaker. Air conditioning, analog gauges, CD player, charger and the starter button, all exactly the same, whether it's 2005 or 2006. Now we're gonna go in the back, open the clamshell, show you the difference with an early car like this compared to a 2006. I need a hand because with 2005, you pull it up the same and then there's the catch on both sides, but you see how it doesn't pop up like an earlier car we did in 2006. If we come around, we look at the bump stops. This was the early design bump stops for the clamshells, okay? It was nice and tight as the jaw locked into the glass, but it didn't pop up. So you needed a second person, or you have to come over, lean all over the paint, push it on both sides. Now the GT guys invented a bar that you could just toggle, and then you could open it from the one side, but it's a lot easier once you had the push-ups, which came in 2006. Once again, the glorious 5.4 motor with the twin injectors. Now look at the trim. It's a little thicker compared to the real earlier cars. And then as we close the clamshell, once again, I want to bring to your attention, these cars weren't perfected yet. We have what's called the Band-Aid clips on these cars, okay? The pressing, the molding was made for the entire clamshell in one press, but the seam lines weren't perfect yet. So they took pieces of metal, glued it and crimped it over the bonnet, and then painted it with the rest of the car. So if you see a Band-Aid clip car and you see no grill, you know there was accident work, okay? If you don't see Band-Aid clips and it's after roughly VIN 1000, then you know you're safe. All 2005 Ford GTs up to VIN 1675 at least had billet control arms. That's not the way they originally came from the factory when they came off the line. They're press control arms. It was one stress crack on an early car, and they decided to take them all back and replace them with handmade billet control arms, upper and lower, which cost Ford over $7,000 per car. So if you see a Ford GT 2005, from the very first VINs all the way up to 1675, they should have billet control arms. Very, very important on these earlier cars. Remember now, in 2006, they went back to the press control arms, not the billet anymore, saving them $7,000 per set. Now, if you need repair work or you have to have new bushes put in because the upper control arm, lower control arm becomes weak, as time goes by, a lot of my friends have over 100,000 miles on these cars, okay? You cannot press out the bushes for the upper and lower control arms. You have to buy a new set. Today's cost of the pressed ones, the cheap ones, are $20,000 per set front and back. So it's a big deal, but if you see the billet arms on the earlier cars, you know the car was never touched. If you see press control arms on an early car, then obviously you know something's up, okay? Unless there's 100,000 miles on the car and they just needed them. They did not remake the billet control arms. Like the clamshells with the Band-Aid clips, like the front grille, they did not remake any of this stuff. So that's how you can tell the difference if it's original or not, okay? All Ford GTs, whether they were 2005, 2006, all came with good years. They were great back in that day, especially for the speeds that they needed, but they became outdated very, very fast. The only modern replacement that we use nowadays are the Bridgestones. The Bridgestones are like glue on the road compared to the original Goodyears. And remember, these cars have no traction control. When I drove my Silver 360 around the world, I had Bridgestones the whole way, up to 4 inches of snow, deserts, high heat, snow, they were the best. The Goodyears would have been hockey pucks back in the day. On the original Goodyears, when you're looking for a Ford GT, and you want to know if it's a true original, very low mileage car, the original GTs, for insurance purposes, the tires had a blue line, an orange line, and a yellow line painted on the tires. And to keep the warranty up, if somebody whole shotted the car, melted the tire treads, you'd see right away that one of those lines would disappear and say, oh, the transmission broke or something happened, I only have 500 miles on the car. They could test just by those lines on the tires, and the insurance company would be right behind them. Engines were installed last after the body was all done, and that was all done at Wixom at the end, okay? But Romeo plant for the engines, separate building plant, 6 sets of 2 engine builders, and each guy would put their own name on the tag, stamp it. Just a neat touch for a car from a big, massive company like Ford. It gave it that little bit of a Ferrari touch. Let's take this thing out for a ride. And away we go. Okay, you want to start?
Let's go, man. We're doing it. We're live.
What could be better? It's springtime, and we're driving a 2005 Ford GT, no stripes, with Matt Ivanhoe from the Cultivated Collector. Matt, thanks for letting me enjoy this car today.
Thanks for coming and sharing all that is Ford GT for us.
Yeah, this brings back a lot of memories. Look, right now in third gear, you could just hang out 40, 50, 60 miles an hour. These are just wonderful cars that'll never be repeated again. What do you think?
No, I agree. Especially, when you look at it's such a killer blend of, it still has a lot of that analog flavor. You got the stick, you got the supercharged V8, no driver aids, no nothing. But this is still a civilized place to be. We're sitting here, we're cruising around, we're having a conversation. You're not in pain, I assume. You're feeling pretty good right now. Okay, all right, there you go. You're feeling good. We're comfortable. Yep. It's one of those. This is one of those cars that really does everything well. It's a fantastic blend, but it's still special and exotic and exciting, and it's not like nothing against the Porsche 911, but it's not a Porsche 911. This is an exotic car, but it's easy.
I truly agree. Hey, look, it's iconic, but like you just said, we're comfortable in here. We have air conditioning. Yeah. Power steering, power brakes, and we're cruising at 50, 60 miles an hour. You don't even hear a thing.
Yeah. Other
than that glorious rumble of the old V8.
Yep.
Hey, look, this is a great ride. Let's go through it a little bit. What do you think?
Let's do it.
So we got the 5.4, bulletproof. 100,000 miles means nothing on this engine.
Yep.
You're not worried about foreign makers, timing chains, gears, belts, anything like that. Other than changing the oil and maybe a set of spark plugs at 100,000 miles. That's all you're looking at. You got all the modern amenities in the car. Rear defrost, lights, blinkers,
nice
beautiful radio.
Yeah, nice
right?
Macintosh stereo.
You're liking that. And then, of course, what doesn't exist anymore, stick shift with 3 pedals.
Yep.
And you're going like there's no tomorrow.
And a beautiful shift too. I mean, the Ricardo box in this, right?
Ricardo is excellent.
Box, fantastic and bomb-proof. I mean, so many things about this car. That's another thing that I love about it, is so much about this car is overbuilt and over-engineered. It's bomb-proof.
And that really is a testament to Ford, because they have to meet certain requirements. They couldn't just build another hot rod and God forbid somebody got hurt in one of these cars. Yep. These things were definitely overbuilt. And as you know, I drove my Silver 360 with my buddy around the world, and we did 13,300 miles in 31 driving days, and it never skipped a beat. And that's fluids, temperature changes around the world, climbing Stelvio, 1 set of tires for the whole ride, snow, wind, rain, mountain hikes, shipped on boats around the world to get to all the other locations. And it's just a wonderful machine. Yeah, it was great. So when we look at these cars,
that was your silver car.
That was a silver GT.
That was your silver GT.
Early 2005.
Yep.
So when we look at this car, like you said, it's all analog. There's nothing in your face like a more modern car. We both have McLarens, the newer McLarens. They will literally tear the skin off your face, but there's no emotion to the car. You're basically driving a computer.
Yeah.
Well, the computer's actually driving you the way it is.
Correct.
But this, with 3 pedals, you still have to think. It's wonderful with the power steering, power brakes. There's not even traction control. Remember, these are the last cars. There's no traction control. There's no nanny gates.
No driver
Could you get in trouble? Yes, if you don't know what you're doing or if you're being foolish. But if you drive it right, perfect day. 51, 52 degrees. We got the Bridgestones on
Exactly.
here.
We got the right rubber on it.
Right
which makes
rubber on
all the difference in the world on these cars.
Once you let those tires warm up, you could drive this endless. Let's open the windows for just 10 seconds. We don't want the buffer, but just to hear that stock exhaust. First. Second. Third. Doesn't that sound great?
Sounds beautiful.
Fourth. And you dump it like it's a Lincoln Town car. With the windows back up. And here's GT Joey speed now, slow. But at least it's enjoyable, you know? So tell me what else is going on at the Cultivated Collector.
And we've had some really, I mean, look, we're passionate about investment grade classic and exotic cars, and we've been really, really privileged lately to have some really difficult to, unrepeatable vintage supercars. We're really, really excited about that stuff. Some exceptional Lamborghini stuff, some exceptional Ferrari stuff. We've had a bunch of GTs and some more on the way in, and we're always looking for really, really special stuff. We're always after it, man. So
good. Have you ever gotten involved with the originals? Like I was involved with the 104 original GT40s back in the 60s.
Yep.
Did you ever get involved with the originals?
Years ago. It's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
I mean, it's such a rare niche market,
Exceptional cars. But yeah, I've been involved in a couple of them years ago. It's been a little while. I'd love to do another one because they're just, it's the very definition of iconic. And what I love about the originals too is it does not look like a 60s car.
Right. Well,
it
was 20 years ahead of its time then.
At minimum. Right. Yeah, no, it's so far ahead of its time. It is such an incredible car. And even by today's standards, it's still a wild thing.
Yep.
Absolutely wild thing.
I agree. And then when you're able to cultivate that into something like this, a modern version, by the way, which the gas tank now is between our seats.
Yep.
Okay, because the original GT40s, the gas tanks were in the door sills.
Oh yeah.
Which there was no way that was going to pass crash testing in modern times. So yeah, it was a beautiful continuation. It was so special because Shelby was still alive, Jackie Stewart, Dan Gurney, and they were all there when they unveiled this back in the day. I was just very happy to be a part of it. It's nice to see, though, that this really became an icon as well. Mm-hmm. And then, like you're seeing at your shop, you're getting demand for these all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and I think what people really love and appreciate about them is just how usable they are. Just how dynamic of a car it is. It's something that you actually can use.
Here we are. It's just, I hope pretty soon we get to take another adventure, maybe with a GTX-1.
Yeah.
Or something to that effect.
Yeah, I like the GTX-1. It's
yeah, that was a neat story for another day.
Neat project.
And maybe now we get a little lunch.
Yeah. When we were back
Matthew,
home.
Thank you once again. This was another nice day.
Joey, it's always a pleasure.
I'm happy to be here for you. Anything with the Ford GTs, you can throw in Aston Martins too.
Yeah.
I come by, we test drive, but this is one sweet ride, my friend.
We have a good time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm GT Joey, and that's a wrap, and thank you for stopping by at the Cultivated Collector.